So, good evening. We are GayMenzel office from Monté in the Valais, French-speaking part of the Canton Valais. We are what you might call a typical Feld, Wald und Wiesen office. So we do a little bit of everything in a very limited radius of intervention. For the sake of the discussion tonight, we would like to propose 3 themes that are not necessarily related to the images, but you'll see later on it'll make sense. So first theme is reading landscapes. We're very fascinated by the complexity of landscape at a big scale. So we enjoy multiple layers superimposed like a palimpsest, sometimes legible, sometimes illegible. We're fascinated by the openness to read landscape with another landscape, to project a different landscape on an existing landscape, despite all the specificities of the landscape that you're dealing with. And through looking at landscape, we try to make sense of our work in a way, sort of the interconnectedness of the projects that we do in a limited radius of intervention is our own reading of the landscape. Second theme is citization beyond the big centers. So as we heard, urbanism in Switzerland is a very peculiar thing. It's very differentiated, and what interests us most is that it's kind of shifted in time. So where most of the attention right now is focusing on the agglomerations of the big centralities in Switzerland, now the small towns like Monté, where we work, they're waking up. You know, it's a very lax kind of urbanism, delayed in time, almost like 100 or 150 years. Suddenly they wake up, they realize, oh wow, we've become adult, we're almost a city too. So is there an alternative urban habitat in Switzerland apart from Zurich or Basel or Lausanne? Third theme is adaptation. This is what our project is about that I'm going to show you. How does this work actually? Yeah, this works here. Look at some images. Oh, this is the wrong image. Just see what we have here. Well, it doesn't matter. First image can be used as the real image too, but there's a different one here in the projection, which is nicer. But adaptations is what we like to use as a term when we describe transformations or renovation projects. So renovation projects imply, yeah, okay, you just change the finishes, and transformation seems like a little bit of magic where suddenly a pumpkin changes into a horse carriage. We prefer adaptations, which are more humble, and they're a little bit in between. So to adapt an historic building, as this one here, for instance, means that you need to adapt it to contemporary life. So new elements adapt themselves to the old ones and vice versa. This project here is in Saint-Maurice, a place where we live. It's just like 5 meters across the street from our house. And it's 3 houses actually. It's a structure from the late 17th century. And this project implies demolition of half of the existing structure, reconstruction within the existing volume, and then renovation of the old part. So the demolition already is a big part of the project because the architect is almost an editor who has to choose what stays, what goes out. This is the answer to the second question. Architects who work the same way as we do. We proposed a project by Baccarat & Blanc, architects from Lausanne. So this image talks about adaptation, obviously. It talks about fragment and unity. It talks about materiality. It talks about time. It talks about space. It talks about geometry. All these things are interesting for us in the sake of our project. Why did we take this image? Merkli, for instance, could have been an option, but we wanted definitely to take an example from the Romandie because there is good Romandie architecture, believe it or not. You have to look a little closer, but it is there. Third image, this is a villa in Monté from the 1930s. So this is an example of anonymous architecture which is neither sublime, nor does it touch upon, I would say, like this unacademic poetry that a lot of architects relish in vernacular architecture. So this is just a villa from the 1930s, but it talks about how can a very strong initial structure, which is kind of impure, accommodate change over time. It talks about signs of life. You see the little fence up there, you see the dustbin. It also talks about fun. And these are all things that are interesting and important to us for our architecture. Thank you very much.